All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the City Commission meeting of February 27, 2024. At this time, I'll remind you all to please silence any electronic devices that may make noise at this time. And I'll ask Val to please call the roll.
Commissioner Penny?
Here.
Commissioner Murray?
Here.
Commissioner Daniel?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson? Mayor Diaz?
Here. And I will entertain a motion at this time to excuse Commissioner Johnson.
So moved. Second.
Go ahead and give it to
All
Dan.
right, we have a motion from Vice Mayor
Motion
Penny.
and second, doesn't matter.
Second from Commissioner Danio to excuse Commissioner Johnson. He is having a medical procedure, so we will go ahead and excuse him. Would anybody like to speak to that motion tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public participation. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carries 4-0. Now, at this time, I'll ask you all to please stand for the invocation led by Commissioner Penny Curry and continue standing afterwards for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Lord, we come before you this evening asking for your blessings on this meeting and our community. Please be with us and guide us through our meeting. Bless our military and first responders. Keep a hedge of protection surrounding them. And Lord, I also ask for a special prayer for Commissioner Johnson as he recovers through his medical procedure. In your name I pray, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Curry.
You're welcome.
Is this on? Can you hear me out there? Okay. All right, so with that, we will move to number 2 on our agenda, which is public comments. This is the audience's opportunity to speak to the commission about anything not on our agenda tonight. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak tonight? Yes, ma'am. Just come to the podium and introduce your name and address for the record, and you'll have 5 minutes.
Good evening, Commission. My name is Chris Bremner. I live at 168 Walker Street, and this weekend I will be at my 1-year anniversary. Very excited to be here. A native Californian. I did move from Charlotte, North Carolina, and in my career have been involved with local politics. I'm here tonight at the last minute because it snuck up on me, but we have Bike Week, an exciting event that I understand brings a tremendous amount of business into the area. However, on Walker Street, this week becomes probably the most unsafe week I've ever seen on that street. And last year when I moved in, after visiting the property on several occasions prior to purchasing, I never experienced anything like it. I was very aware of race weeks and bike weeks and having owned a vacation home in Myrtle Beach, very familiar with that. Walker Street, from Ridgewood to the water, I don't know what you can do for us. I don't know if we can get some A-frames or some additional coverage. It's not a week that we look forward to. And I promised my neighbors I would just come and ask and see if there was anything that could happen, but it's not a fun week for us. Again, we really understand the financial impact of this event. It's not a week that you can safely be on our street. So that's all I came to say. Thank you very much. And again, if there's anything you can do for us, even A-frames that say slow down, we would greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Bremner.
Thank you.
And is it the speed is the concern? Just to be clear.
It's the speed.
Okay.
It's like a mini drag race.
Okay.
With motorcycles. Obviously, they're very loud,
Yeah.
but I think that if we would all be more than happy to live with the sound versus the speed.
Okay.
So,
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
thank you.
And thank you for coming tonight. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak to the commission? Yes, sir. Just state your name and address for the record, and you'll have 5 minutes.
Yes, hi, my name is Michael Files. I'm a representative of Ride Now Power Sports on 450 Ridgewood. So speaking about Bike Week again, We have had some permitting issues, and we've gotten most of those things straightened out with the 450 property.
Mike,
Is this about your item?
you actually have an item on the agenda.
Oh, I do, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so when that comes up, I'll
Yeah,
call you.
and I'll let you speak to that. Are you speaking about something else?
No, this is just.
Oh, just that, okay, yeah.
I didn't realize we were on the agenda. I
No worries, this is just about anything not on the agenda, so I'll bring you back up when that time comes.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak to the commission about anything not on our agenda tonight? All right, seeing none, I'll close public participation. And before we move to the approval of the minutes, I want to give a moment to our police chief to introduce someone very special here working in our police department and serving our community every day. And we should be very grateful to this person that you are about to introduce to the community. The floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. Good evening. I'm Chief Miller, Holly Hill Police Department. Tonight, I'd like to introduce you to our new victim advocate. She started on February 5th, Daisy, and she has prior military experience, 6 years of the United States Army, prior experience with the Domestic Abuse Council and some other victim advocacy groups. So, Daisy?
Amazing. Welcome, Daisy.
Thank you, thank you. Piggybacking off what he said, I'm Daisy Gonzalez. I live to serve my community, started off in the military. I'm originally from New York, so I did a lot of volunteer work in New York as well before moving over here in 2019. And then I started serving my community here at the Beacon Center, VRCC, Family Life Center. And I am looking forward to continuing my service here at the police department, and whatever you guys may need, I'm here to help.
Amazing. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much for all your service.
Yes.
Thank you, thank you.
For your service in our military and in our community, and we look forward to having you here. Thank you for what you do. All right, at this time, I see Mr. Legary just walked in. Did you want to do public comments, Mr. Legary? Yes. All right, come on, I'll let you come on up. I just closed it, but I know you always have something for us, so come on up. State your name and address for the record as if we don't know it, and you'll have 5 minutes.
Jim Legary, 342 Burley. I had an inspiration, which I shared with John Penny and Joe Forte, and it's this. So I think Scott will have to comment on that. Is there a way that we could develop some kind of community bulletin board where the preachers and the people from the DAV and the people from our boards publish what's going on in their little bailiwicks? I think Joe said that he thought that it would not be desirable to have Holly Hill involved in it. What do you think of that, Scott?
I didn't think the city should operate it because it would be a public domain that we can't control the content, as opposed to a private person or a company can control the content. The attorney will probably.
Yeah, I would say this.
What he said?
But once we own it, we cannot control what's said on there. We can't do content-based regulation. So if it's anything, anybody can post anything in there except, extreme.
Well, that's what I'm saying. What I'm thinking is the
And it's all a public record
The
once it
people,
goes
the
on
people that post are something. They're part of the neighborhood watch. They're something.
It could be limited to anybody. It could be anybody posting anything, because we couldn't restrict it. That would be the issue. We couldn't say only nonprofit organizations can post. That would, or something like that. I think if we have a place where anybody in the public can post, then everybody in the public has to have that opportunity.
I see.
That would be the concern.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea, Mr. Legary. Let me give it some more thought. This is the first I've heard of it, and we're not going to work it out here tonight, so.
Yeah, we talked about, I think the problem is who would be the gatekeeper?
Right.
That's the whole challenge.
Because you don't want someone coming up
It's a
spewing
great
hate
idea.
against something, or I don't know
Very good idea.
where the protections
It's the first one I've ever had, Penny.
No, that's not true.
That's the second one.
Second,
But who's keeping count? Thank you, Mr. Gary, we appreciate it. All right, is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak to the city commission about anything not on our agenda? Seeing none, I will close public comments, and now we'll move to the approval of the minutes. We have the minutes from the February 13th, 2024 workshop and the February 13th, 2024 regular city commission meeting. Do I have a motion for approval of the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion for approval of both of the minutes from Commissioner Penny and a second from Commissioner Curry. Would anybody in the audience like to speak on the minutes? Seeing none, I'll close public participation. We'll take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion carries 4-0. Now we're going to move to our consent agenda, items 1 through 4. The action proposed is stated for each item on the consent agenda. Unless a city commissioner removes an item from the consent agenda, no discussion on individual items will occur, and a single motion will approve all items. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak on any item on the consent agenda tonight? Seeing none, I will close public participation. Would any commissioner like to remove an item from the consent agenda? Seeing none, I'll open the floor for a motion of approval for the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda?
second.
We have a motion and a second. A motion from Commissioner Curry, a second from Commissioner Danio. No discussion is needed. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries 4-0. Now moving to number 5, which is our regular agenda. First up is 450. Yes, sir.
Can we go back to public comments for just 1 minute?
Yeah.
I know we heard a complaint about Walker Street, but can we point her in the right direction? If she needs
Yeah.
to talk to Mr. Forte
That's
or the chief
pretty-
of police, or just give her some guidance. So
That's appropriate. You do see our chief here in the back. This is Mrs. Bremer, and I know you heard what she said. If you could get with her and talk afterwards. I'm not giving you direction. That's from the city manager, right?
She can talk to the chief.
What's that?
She can talk with the chief.
She could talk to the chief?
Yeah, that would be the best thing.
Okay.
I just didn't want her to go away and think we weren't going to
Yeah, I
at least
hate when
try.
someone
I don't know
comes the
what
first
we're
time.
going to do, but
Yeah, we're hearing you.
Just also, we were there this morning at Walker and Daytona Avenue. We had an officer monitoring the stop sign there.
For the record, you were there at Daytona and Walker today. Just, the chief said that in the audience. Yep. All right, thank you, sir, and thank you for that, Commissioner. Now we'll move to our regular agenda. The first item is 450 Ridgewood Avenue Bike Week permit request. Mr. Forte.
So the city received an application for a Bike Week event from March 1st to March 10th. The application process that proposes that the event take place on the property at 450 Ridgewood Avenue, the location of the Ride Now Power Sports, as well as the vacant lot across the street from that location. The vacant lot address is 331 Ridgewood Avenue and is owned by Cora Daytona Fund 1 LLC, who has given permission for the applicant to use their property. The applicant proposes to place a 100 by 40-foot tent on the vacant property, which will cover their product, motorcycles, ATVs, etc., while available for sale. There is also a boat platform for boats, 3 exhibitor tents that'll be 20 by 30, and 2 that'll be 20 by 60, and it'll also host some event parking, which they typically do each year. With regards to the event property on the vacant land, the land development regulations state the following: special events are not permitted on vacant land without the approval of the city commission. And that section of the code is included in your agenda packet. So what happened in this past week is we noticed that there was a large tent that was erected on the 331 Ridgewood property. So I had sent code enforcement out to ask them to remove the tent and to come in and make an application for it. They submitted an application, but what they didn't understand is because it's vacant land, you don't get the same rights that you do on a developed piece of property. So that property, for many, many years, has always participated in a Bike Week event. So there was an assumption by the applicant that they can just extend that to the vacant land. So when they came in to see me, 3 gentlemen came in, Mike was one of them. Very nice, very polite, not mad, not upset, not angry, professional, which made the whole process go a whole lot easier. Explained the circumstances that they were behind, and we tried to work with the time frame of when they were going to have their Bike Week event, which is March 1st to the 11th. And then they add some days on before and after, which go toward their other 20 days of special event privileges that they get. So when we talked about the possibility of having to take the tent down, with the weekend coming, this has happened on Friday, with the weekend coming and the limitations on the tent company to get out here over the weekend because they're putting up tents all over the county, they would only get here on Monday to take it down. We'd have this meeting today and potentially would put it up again tomorrow. I didn't want to have to put him through that, so we allowed him to get a courtesy notice of violation in anticipation of coming here tonight, asking the commission for permission to conduct those special event activities on that property. And the applicant will be here to speak on this behalf, but we don't anticipate that there's going to be any amplification, no music, no loud motorcycles. So I don't suspect that it will be a problem for the neighborhood.
Great, thank you very much. Are there questions for staff?
May we get one of those erected on Walker Street?
All right, and now we'll allow you to come up and speak if you so wish to. And state your name again for the record and who you're with.
Mike LaFiles, and I'm a representative of Ride Now Power Sports. So just to kind of piggyback on what was said already, there's not going to be any kind of vendors, there's not going to be any kind of, like you said, amplification, no dynos, no any kind of thing like that. There's not even going to be any demos there. The only purpose for us to use that property and under the tent would be just for display. So we would display inventory there, and then I know you mentioned the boat platforms. Excuse me, we're not going to be using those, so we're not even going to have boat platforms. The only thing that we're going to have is the tent as far as a structure that we'll use for display. We will have some watercraft that are on trailers parked there, and then it'll be used for customer parking, which we've done the last 4 years. So never had any incidents, never had any vandalism, no destruction of the property. It's always been given back to the owner in like condition as we took it. So, you know, and we plan on doing the same as well. You know, once the tents are taken down and all the inventory is removed, the property will be exactly as we got on it. So we're just asking that we have permission to utilize that property and keep the tent that's already on there.
Yep.
So.
And I'll open it up to questions. My question is, will you be employing police officers again this year?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thank
we
you.
have the crosswalk police officers. They're in marked cars. They'll be in uniform. They'll be assisting customers to cross the street and man that area. So.
Great. All right, are there any questions for the applicant? All right. And thank you for being understanding when talking to staff, and understand some mistakes happen. I'd say don't do it again next year, but probably next year you won't be able to anyways with the potential development. So, but thank you for coming in nonetheless and manning up and doing the right thing. So appreciate that.
I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Now, at this time, we'll open it up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to the commission about this tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public participation. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve from Commissioner Curry, a second from Vice Mayor Penny. Any discussion needed? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the motion carries 4-0. Now moving to our public hearings. Our first one tonight is ordinance 2024-0-3068 for second reading. Mr. Simpson.
Ordinance number 2024-0-3068 by title only for second and final reading. An ordinance of the City of Holly Hill, Florida approving the second major amendment to the Malkeet Saul Business Plan Unit BPUD Development Agreement, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, and I'll hand the floor over to you, Mr. Walker.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, this again proposes a major amendment to the Malik Saul BPUD development. It has already gone to first reading. There have been no changes. Staff continues to recommend approval.
Thank you very much. And I have some questions for you here tonight. The applicant's not here, correct? Is this the business owner for the Granite Place? Oh, for the sheds. Okay. Is the owner of the cabinet or granite company here?
No,
You
my
know of?
understanding is that he's on vacation.
Okay, and the owner of the property is not here tonight?
He is not here either.
Okay, was he told to be here tonight?
Yes.
Okay. So here's my problem with it, and I'm going to ask you a question, is I appreciate what happened at the shed section, but the granite section has not been addressed. Today I see that they did move some of the granite off of the road, but the question is for you, do you have, and Mr. Forte is handing out a slip here of, this is the granite place with their proposed placement of where the granite should go, but I'll explain some of my problems with this. Are they in full compliance right now and in respect to the granite part of the property?
No.
Okay. And are there still granite in parking spaces with this new proposed drawing?
There's still an A-frame in one of the parking spots along Nova Road that contains 2 pieces of granite. And then along the north side, there are parking spaces that are also filled with granite frames that hold granite. So in that respect, the property is not in compliance. The granite is not supposed to be displayed in parking spaces, and it should have been removed from the spaces, at least along Nova Road, but along the north area as well.
Is there any handicap spacing available to park right at the office, or is that blocked?
That's blocked.
Okay. The tents that are out there currently in front of the business, were those permitted to be placed?
The 2 tents that are currently in front of the granite business have not been permitted.
Thank you. And furthermore, did staff make a recommendation, and Mr. Forte, listen to this part, did staff make a recommendation that we would allow them to place granite along the north side of the property, behind that office?
The northwest portion of the property.
Northwest, thank you for
Yes.
that clarification. And lastly, do we, just so everyone is aware, do we currently allow, and I know this is a complex answer, but do we currently allow the outside display of granite in front of a business? The easy answer, not the complex one.
Well, the easy answer is, with this particular zoning district, yes. And the reason why I say that is because this particular PD states that B5 uses are allowed. So B5 is a zoning category that comes with a list of uses, and one of the conditions is that outdoor display can be an accessory use. However, if you're going to have outdoor display, there are a list of rules that go along with that outdoor display. So it is permitted, but it cannot be in right-of-way, drive aisles, loading and unloading areas, parking spots. So there's very specific places that outdoor display can take place. This particular property is not in compliance with the location. They're in compliance with with respect that they're allowed to have granite as displayed, but with regard to the location, they are out of compliance with the code.
Correct. And so with that in mind, staff did direct them where they could place it, which is my earlier question, which is the northwest part of the property and even the south end of this section of the property. Is that correct?
Yes, the city manager actually himself drew out some areas where the granite could go, which if they had followed, they would be in compliance, but they chose at this time not to follow that direction.
Okay. And was the property owner told before the business moved in that this type of granite display was not going to be allowed?
They were told that the granite needed to be out of the parking spaces, could not be along Nova Road, and that really staff needed to be able to see it where they proposed to put it and give approval for that to be sure that they would be compliant. We didn't want a situation where they would just come in, put it, and then become a code enforcement problem. Unfortunately, the applicant conveyed to the granite owner that where they proposed to put it was fine.
Okay, but to be clear, that direction was given and that direction was not followed by the property owner?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Now, furthermore, in our previous meetings with this commission, did we state that we wanted this property to be in compliance before we move forward and take a vote on it? The answer is yes, I can give you that answer. I reviewed the meetings.
Yes, in fact, they were told that by the commission.
Yes, correct. By the
Yes.
commission, who is the body that votes on it.
Correct.
So I just wanted to make that clear, because it feels to me that, that either this commission, this staff, or this city, or all three are not being respected in regards to, with this PD, we are allowing them to actually do more. We allowed them to put the sheds up when it wasn't in the code to necessarily do so. We are allowing them the opportunity to have granite outside. And so what happens here is when people cheat the rules, the system, it hurts all of the business owners that go through the right way of doing things and coming in and getting approvals first and moving in. Otherwise, we should just have no rules if we have to bend over backwards. We now, as a commission, are placed in the spot to be the bad guys and say, we do not allow this, and you have to move your business. And that's not what I'm here to do tonight, and I understand if you're telling me that the business owner was not aware of what this commission wanted, or where it could be, or what the rules are. I think that they should have known, but the fact is
They were
did.
told.
Well, thank you.
Yes, no, they were definitely told that they could not just put the granite wherever they wanted, and they were told to give us a layout prior to placing it. They chose not to do that. Now, I don't recall that anyone from staff told them that the entire property had to be in compliance before the major amendment could be approved, but I do believe that that did come from this commission. I believe that that was conveyed to them, the desire to have the entire property compliant.
Okay, because where I'm going with this is the same as I felt before, and I think that the way the commission felt is, I'm not ready to approve this tonight. I want to continue this tonight to the next meeting to make sure that staff's direction is followed so that there is no issue, they're not out of compliance with these granite places out front. We need to make sure the tents can be there if they're permitted. If they're not, we don't have the applicant here tonight because this has nothing to do with the sheds. I'm okay with where the sheds are. We appreciate you working with us and coming to do that, and I hope that this will be done by the next meeting. I understand that fines start tomorrow on the property, and so my last question for you is, if this comes before us and this is taken care of to where we would want the slabs to be placed, if there are fines, can this commission reduce that, or do we make a recommendation to the special master?
I know that the city commission is the only body that can release fines, liens.
Liens.
What I would say with regard to the actual fines is if the fines do accumulate, that would be something that we could go back to the special master and say, these are the fines that you gave the city, you authorized the city to begin accumulating. I'm not even sure that the special master's authorization is necessarily a mandate that we have to begin fining. I think we have some flexibility with regard to that. But if not, we can certainly go back to the special master. If staff recommends to the special master that those fines be reduced or eliminated because the applicant has worked with the city, my impression is, knowing the special master, my impression is that the judge would reduce them.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there further questions for staff? Yes, sir.
I just want to clarify. So, as I understand it, this is one parcel with two businesses on it, correct?
Yes.
And they're both rental properties.
Yes.
And what brought this to our attention was the shed company. And from what I can see, the tenant in the shed company has done everything we've asked them to do.
Yes.
As soon as we came to an agreement. It appears that the person that's defiant is the granite guy, and I'm not sure it's the granite guy. I'm not sure that the owner hasn't conveyed the city's wishes to the granite owner. But I'm not sure why the fines will go to the owner. And I'm not sure why we'd want to relieve any fines.
True.
They were clearly told 2 weeks ago that this is what we wanted, and it's their obligation to convey that message to their tenant.
And I'll add to that, going back and listening to the record, Jim Rose, the attorney for Mike Saul, stated right up here that he will speak with Mike. They will
Right.
get this done before the
Right.
next one.
So I'm in agreement, because if I were to vote for this tonight, I would have to vote against it, and that would hurt the tenant, and I don't want to do the shed tenant any harm, because he's done everything we've asked him to do. But moving of the granite is beyond his control. So I'm in agreement with you that we should continue this to the next meeting. Hopefully, we can make it clear to the applicant that if he's not here, he needs a representative, because we're going to take a vote on this, and if it's not in compliance, it's probably not going to be favorable.
Right. I agree. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Commissioner Curry?
Brian, I just want to clarify, staff or someone from the city did communicate about the granite, correct? That it needed to be,
I
Let me jump
personally,
in at this point. After the last meeting, the next day was the county council State of the County address. I had contacted Mike Saul to make him aware that the granite needed to be moved. I had actually sent Kyle from Code Enforcement out there to notify them. They came to the office probably shortly after 11 o'clock, and I had already printed out an overlay of the parcel, and I hexed
of
out
this?
similar to that. It
Okay.
was like a Google Earth look, and I X'd out the areas on the north and south west side of the property on either side of the building, and said, look, I want you to put the granite there and get it out of the parking spaces in the open area. So we got into a bit of a debate, and I was literally on my way out the door. So I said, look, I can't talk to you about this right now. If you don't agree with me, then you do me a favor. You propose to me what you want to do. So that's what this is they sent this in,
by email a few days ago.
yeah, this week, not last week.
Yeah,
So
early this
yesterday? Today's Tuesday.
Oh, yeah, it should probably, Monday or Tuesday.
So it probably came yesterday. So that's kind of how it came about, is following the last commission meeting, I contacted the owner to say, hey, move the granite.
Okay.
He showed up Tuesday. I couldn't speak in greater detail other than what I drew him out that I felt was appropriate. And because I couldn't talk any longer, I said, send me your idea, and this is what showed up this week. Now,
Thank you.
the owner of the business is out of the state, and unreachable for
I'm
any
sure
other.
he has people that work for him.
I have no
I
idea.
have a question for Scott now. Because this is one property, we can't approve this gentleman without approving the granite. We can't approve one without the other, because it's all one property.
Yeah, the PUD applies to the property, whatever the legal description it applies to.
Okay.
So if it applies to the whole property. This issue is, I guess, more or less unrelated to the PUD. And, because the PUD doesn't make this compliant. It's still non-compliant, so there's still a code enforcement issue. And this is really a code enforcement issue to resolve, this issue. Have they been cited?
They haven't been officially cited,
They have not been?
no.
Okay.
So let me jump in. So then should we clarify, because, so here's the problem, Scott, is that it's falling under B5 criteria, and B5 says they can have a granite place, and through that they're allowed to have outdoor merchandise. But with the caveat, it cannot be in any drive lanes, it cannot obstruct any of
Whatever the
that,
rules are.
right? So this, what they're showing us is not in compliance with that. That's outside of it. So if we approve the PUD as written now, without this being addressed, and this is just okay, this isn't okay, so should we, in the PUD, spell out where this display can go?
Well, the PUD has a development agreement that has to be mutually agreed upon by the parties, so the other party's not here to agree to any proposed change. Normally, I would assume normally what would happen is staff would work with property owners in the B5 to propose where outside storage would occur. Is that?
Well, the code already addresses where the granite can go. The PD doesn't need to be changed to address where
Address
the
that, right.
where the granite can go.
So regardless, what they're telling us and what they have right now is not going to work.
Doesn't matter. What,
Right.
we have a code that says, and the B5 our PUD incorporates the B5 in the rules. From what I'm gathering, what they're doing and what they are proposed both violate the rules. So it's a code enforcement issue. By approving the PUD, you're not validating the granite situation, the outside storage of granite. They still will have to go through code enforcement and still have to deal with that issue. I think the issue is, because the shed issue wasn't resolved before, that property, and was it just the property owner? Because typically, we should cite the tenant and the property owner.
Both get noticed.
Okay, and both were cited.
But the property owner is the one who
For the shed.
pays. Correct.
Right, that's what I'm saying, so the tenant for the sheds was taken to code enforcement, was given till this Friday, or whenever, very soon to comply, right?
Right.
And it was the PUD that's going to comply. If the PUD is not approved, there will be a fine that starts to accumulate against both the property owner and the tenant. They were both cited, they were both jointly and severally liable for the fines that accrue. Now, Special Master and this commission can address those issues, but they will start to accrue. If you approve it, the shed company will be in compliance before the fine starts. The granite company still is not in compliance. We will still proceed with code enforcement. So it's not going to change what we do, from a code enforcement standpoint on the shed. I guess you could say what it does is it takes away your leverage, the city's leverage, to say, we're finding your other property and tenant because this tenant didn't do what they need to do. That's really, if you want to say you're giving up something, you're giving up that leverage. Now, it's not part of the review criteria for when you look at a quasi-judicial hearing, what we're supposed to evaluate, to look at. But that's the leverage you're giving up. But I don't want you to think that somehow by approving the PUD tonight, we are validating the outside storage of granite. We are not. That will still go forward on code enforcement.
Okay,
So,
well said. The floor is yours still, Commissioner Gray.
That's all I needed.
did that answer your question?
Yeah,
Long-winded?
thank you.
Yes, sir.
So that may have changed my view of the issue.
That's,
Yeah.
Because if we approve the PUD, the shed owner is in compliance. The hammer's off of him. He's done everything he did, but still the code enforcement hammer will be on the property owner and the granite
Yes.
Yes.
company, right?
Yeah, and so then what I would say to that is, I just want to make sure from staff, before saying yes to that, is that from this handout, we have all of these in the middle of the drive lane here will not be permitted. I'm okay with these along the side, and I'm okay with it back here as well.
That's not, Mayor, that's technically not the drive lane. The drive lane is clear. That's what we're going to call the maneuverable area. So those 2 rows just between the dotted lines is still not acceptable, but it's not the drive lane.
But there are parking spaces
There
here.
are parking spaces, yes.
And
It's
then there are handicap here.
just- Should be.
And so that has to be accessible.
Yeah, but it's not the, I don't want you to call it the drive lane. You're correct in what your conclusion is going to be,
Yeah.
but that's not the drive lane. The drive lane is free. That's the maneuverable area that we want clear also.
These right here.
Correct.
Will be clear, but we'll allow them to put it up the side here
They could if they want, yes.
if they want to put it there.
Right.
And that would give them roughly the same amount of space there. So then, all right, if that is the conclusion of staff, is that's how we'll move forward, then I can be in favor of this tonight in light of, don't want to punish the shed business for doing the right thing. Thank you for coming into compliance and working with us. And so, all right, that answers my questions. Are there further questions for staff before we open it up to the public?
Can I just say something?
Yeah.
Was it before or after, or does it matter? No, I just feel like we're in a catch-22, like, everything on what you say makes it sound like, wait a minute, they haven't really done anything that we're supposed to, why are we giving them, and at the same time, they did what they were supposed to, so we're kind of, but from the wisdom of our city attorney, it sounds like the load is on code enforcement, and we have to have faith that they will, and they do, as always, take care of things, so.
They'll come in.
Exactly, and
Yeah.
I already spoke with Brian today, and I want it in writing. I want official notices sent out so that there's a paper trail. And it did come up in the special master hearing when the sheds were discussed about the granite, but I want documentation that this has started, and, you know, he doesn't need a month to resolve this. He needs
A day.
a week to resolve it, but he's out of state till March 12th. But we're going to still go ahead and get that process started. We'll mail the notices out. And again, Brian and I will mark this up to what we just discussed and say this, which is basically what I told him the first time. This is what we want you to do. This is not acceptable. This is what you want you to do. You have to have your 88 parking spaces, and your tents have to come down and be properly permitted.
Great.
The one thing I would tell Brian to look at, that would may actually make y'all give it a little more comfort level, is that it seems like this could be viewed as a repeat violation. They were found in violation of outside storage on one portion of the property. Now they're being cited for a violation of outside storage on another portion of the property, right?
But they were never cited for it.
Well-
It's just the first time they've been cited
I thought the fines were fixing to run.
on
Yeah,
this side.
tomorrow.
Yeah, but that's still one piece of property.
But they were never told about this side.
No, no, I understand. But this is one piece of property, so as it relates to the property owner, this could be viewed as a repeat violation.
Actually, they're two different issues. One, the fines that were to begin with regard to the sheds were not for the location, but for the use.
Oh, okay.
He wasn't allowed to have sheds on the property, period, because that wasn't a permitted use. This PD amendment rectifies that.
Right.
If it goes through, now the sheds are permitted use. The issue with regard to the granite, the outside display of granite is permitted. That's not the issue. The issue is the location of it. And all he has to do is clear out that area of maneuverability, and the property is compliant. And they've started to do that. So that's why that's why I'd say I don't think it's a
The only reason I was saying it, if we could say it was a repeat violation, we could go back and cite the person from the first day the violation started, as opposed to when the special master says has to give them reasonable time to comply, and if they don't comply, then the fine starts. So you're talking about a big difference of when the fine could be levied, but it sounds like it may not be a repeat violation.
But they were cited also for outdoor signage as well, correct?
They were, what happened, the code enforcement process begins when the code officer makes contact with them. Now, sometimes it gets rectified, and that's the end of it. If it doesn't, then we can go to courtesy notice, notice of violation, notice to appear, and before the judge. Or we can go straight to a notice of violation, depending on the severity of the situation. That's one of the things that I have to look at and make judgment calls as far as what's going on. But the process has started. They weren't cited for the signs because they removed them
Okay.
when the
So you
code
removed them.
officer went out and made contact verbally.
Okay.
They took the signs down.
Okay, good clarification. Thank you very
Sure.
much. Any further questions? All right, thank you, Mr. Walker. All right, is anyone in the audience, would anybody like to speak to the commission on this item tonight? All right, seeing none, I'll close public participation, and I will entertain a motion for approval of the second reading here
Mayor, I'll
tonight.
make a motion to approve, and that's what I wanted to be able to do, is have this gentleman, because he's worked with us so diligently, be able to begin his business, but yet have a way for the granite company to come into compliance through code enforcement, so
Well said,
it works out well.
well said. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Discussion? I know you just said
Yeah, sorry, yeah,
discussion. All right.
Discussion? Sounds like you need to get on your neighbor.
Your neighbor almost had you on the hook there. I agree, Commissioner Craig, because I came here tonight, as I said, looking for a continuation, because I don't want to approve something while they're outside of the boundaries of what's allowed. But hearing now from staff is convinced me that this will be taken care of, and I have full confidence in that. So with that, we will take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, the motion carries 4-0. Now we'll move to number 2, which is ordinance 2024-0-3072 for first reading. Mr. Simpson.
Ordinance number 2024-0-3072 by title only for first reading. An ordinance to the City of Holly Hill, Florida, amending Chapter 30, Finance, Article 4, Special Assessment, to a new title of Special Assessment - Code Enforcement Cost. Creating a new Article 5, Special Assessments, authorizing the city to levy special assessment and outlining the procedures for special assessment to be levied, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, Mr. Simpson. Mr. Forte.
This ordinance creates the authority for the city commission to levy a non-ad valorem assessment. This regulation applies to all special assessments within the city of Holly Hill. If approved, the city commission would then need to adopt resolutions for any particular type of special assessment for the specific special assessment purpose. The ordinance will allow the city to adopt this particular special assessment and any other special assessment in the future if the need arises. The city said, so that's citywide. More specifically, the city has been negotiating terms and conditions with the representatives of the Anastasia Court Townhome development. The development has some unique conditions that the city is negotiating that will be beneficial to the developer as well as the city. In order for the developer to comply with the city's request, the developer and the future HOA will need to enter into an agreement whereby specific maintenance responsibilities are assigned to the developer and the city for maintenance of the retention pond. In order for the city to ensure that the maintenance from the HOA is completed regularly and properly by the HOA, the city will need to assign a non-ad valorem assessment to the developer and then to the HOA in perpetuity. Approval of this ordinance has no effect on any particular property. In order for the assessment to be applied to a property, the city commission must adopt a resolution specific to that property for which the assessment is being assigned. So this ordinance is a citywide ability to attach an assessment to a property, but for more specifically, as we continue to negotiate the Anastasia Court terms and conditions, we will come back once that development order is done and we bring that forward to you. If it's approved, we will need to do a resolution to place an assessment on that developer and the HOA.
Thank you, Mr. Forte. Mr. Simpson, what I need to understand about this is how common is this for cities to have this ability?
Oh, very. Yeah.
Why do we not already have this
We
ability?
do. We had it, if you look, what I retitled under Article 4 was entitled Special Assessment, but that just dealt with code enforcement cost. And so I looked at the idea, what happens, as Joe explained, have been discussing with this project that they would do a special assessment, city would do a special assessment on that property to fund the maintenance that we would then contract with the HOA to do. Their attorney proposed an ordinance creating just that particular assessment. Recently in Lake Helen, who I represent, we retained a firm to create, we did multiple special assessments, and so we had to create an overall process of how do we do special assessments in the city. No particular special assessments being approved, it creates the procedure for doing it. And I just copied exactly what we adopted in Lake Helen and made it fit for what we're doing here in Holly Hill. So we have our special assessment process, and I'm changing it from just special assessment to code enforcement costs, because that's all it really authorized. Now what we're doing is we're creating another one, a blanket special assessment that outlines the whole process of what we need to go through to create individual special assessments in the future. And that's the resolution Joe referred to. So what this will do is create that process. And cities, if you go onto the property appraiser's website, you can see how many cities levy special assessments. And all the cities that levy special assessments have something like this that authorizes it. And this is very detailed because it outlines not only the authority to do the special assessment, the collection of it, the bonding of it, but also how we can use the non-ad valorem collection process to put the assessment on the tax bill for collection purposes. So it's very detailed. And so when we started the the discussion, and when I got the ordinance, I said, it's probably better to, let's just create the whole thing. And I went and looked at Lake Helens, and we just had, it was actually the same bond counsel we use, Chris Rowe, I think is the same person we use here, that firm. And they're the ones who set up the special assessment process in Lake Helens, so I just took that process, and we did it 2020, I think, pretty recently. So I just took those regulations and put them into our code. And so, this does not levy a single special assessment.
Right, it just gives us the authority to. So let me ask you, are they voluntary?
Special assessments? No.
Okay, so meaning, my question is I want to make sure that this can't ever be abused, obviously not by this commission, but in 10, 20 years, can a commission just set a special assessment on a certain property just because they feel that they want to?
No.
Requirements.
No. To do an assessment, you have to show that that property specifically benefits differently than all the other property. It can't be used to punish anybody.
That's what I'm
and it can't be used to create a tax, which the court would view as a tax. It has to be an assessment or a fee. You can sometimes collect a fee through that non-ad valorem collection process as well. But no, you have to go through a whole analysis. In Lake Helen, they collect fire, garbage, and stormwater through an assessment process. And they go through an analysis. The fire and the garbage are pretty easy because those are contracted with third parties to provide those services. Stormwater, you got to go through an analysis, look at your capital projects, how much money you need to do. A very similar analysis that what y'all are doing for garbage.
Right.
That whole analysis process. So, yeah, there's a notice, and you've got to justify the special benefit to the property you're levying the assessment on. So you can't go say, we're going to levy assessment on this property. I think the last time, excluding this, before the code enforcement one, we did an assessment up on Calagrande to extend a sewer line down a particular road. And so we created an assessment because those properties were specifically benefited by it and worked out a repayment process for them. Timber Trail? Yeah, it was a long time ago.
On Timber Trail, yeah.
So,
95 and 98.
yeah, that's a long time ago.
Interesting, okay.
So, no,
And
you just
for the
cannot
record, I just want to
arbitrarily-
make sure that there's protections in place, because I never want that to be just for the record.
The commission would have to establish what that special benefit is, and there's a lot of court cases and a lot of,
If you could imagine a large gated community, for example, that wanted to have public streetlights that didn't have the ability to pay for them, you could levy an assessment on them for a lighting district.
Interesting, okay.
go to the property appraiser's website and you work your way through, and it'll tell you all the non-ad valorem assessments they do. It's a lot. You would be surprised how many non-ad valorem assessments they do.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying all of that. Are there any further questions about this to staff? Seeing none, we'll open this up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to the commission about this tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public participation. I'll open the floor for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion for approval from Commissioner Penny, a second from Commissioner Curry. Is there any discussion needed? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries 4-0. Now we're going to move to communications. Mr. Forte, do you have anything for us tonight?
A couple. I just want to make the commission aware that Heidi's not here tonight.
I know.
Yeah.
I don't know where she is.
On March 13th is a Wednesday. We're doing the Brazilian pepper plant removal event day. That's being done by SISMA, which is the Cooperative Invasive Species Management Area Group, as well as FWC, a number of volunteers, city public works staff. So if anybody wants to come out and help volunteer on Wednesday, the 13th of March, from 9 to 2, there's an opportunity. You've all been sent invites for the individual meetings with the auditors, so you'll see that on your calendar. On some of those days, I will not be here. I'll be out of state. Brian will sit in on those meetings with you. So just once you see that on your invites, you'll know what that is. And then I'll be out of the office on 2 weeks in a row on Monday, Tuesday. I think March the 11th and 12th, and March the 17th and 18th, something like that. Yeah. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Forte. Mr. Simpson?
No comments.
All right. Mrs. Manning? All right. Vice Mayor, do we have anything tonight?
No, sir.
Commissioner Curry?
The only thing I have two things. The first, I want to make sure that there were no bike wash permits issued.
Not to my knowledge.
There were no what?
Bike wash permits issued. And then the second thing is, do we have a date for the Veterans Memorial out there yet?
Kinda.
You read my, that was my.
Kinda,
okay.
kinda not. It's revolving around Congressman Waltz's schedule. So, I was in contact with someone with the governor's office, and someone who does scheduling there said that they're looking for events like these. I guess his calendar cleared because of,
Imagine that.
he's in the state. So that would be very beneficial. So I've been talking with them, but I just got word back that what they want us to do instead of waiting for his schedule to put something on is for us to book it. And then if he's available, he will come and do a smaller speech, not a keynote speech, but just a welcome thing, do a quick in and out and go. So we're setting that up now. With Michael Waltz's schedule, because his schedule is off, the congressman, his schedule is also very busy. So I'm just trying to get that confirmed.
Does it
and
look
then,
like it's something that might happen in March?
So originally it was the end of March. It was a weekday. I think it was the 27th and 28th were open. And so I'm just trying to double confirm that with them before we book it.
Because I don't want to see us wait too long.
Scrambling, I know. Well, and scrambling to put it together. So, my plan is, and I was going to speak to Mr. Forte about this tonight one-on-one, is we're going to hold another meeting with the folks that are helping to put it on, and then to just solidify this date. And then we have to do a lot of, contacting all the media, contacting all of the family to invite them, the family of the men that are on the stone out there out front. So, I want to make sure we have enough time for planning, so I'm just double confirming with Waltz, and then so by next meeting, we should have a definitive date, whether it's the end of March or the beginning of April. So,
Okay.
yep. Is that it?
That's it.
All right. Commissioner Danio.
Well, she stole my thunder, but no, not really. Now, the only thing I had was just continue to pray for Roy Johnson, because he's been heavy on my heart today, man. So, it's a good man.
Amen to that. Amen. And I have nothing further for you all, but just thank you all for coming out, and drive safely home. We appreciate it. Is there any further business before this commission?
I don't know if you.
Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned.